Welcome, busy gamers. Today we're going to be talking about Marvel's Midnight Suns. What's good, what's bad, and that all-important question, is it worth your time? Now, if you've joined me for another worth your time video in the past, feel free to skip to the section you're most interested in, and if not, let's head straight into the overview. Marvel Midnight Suns is a game developed by Firaxis, known for the Xcom and Civilization series, and it was released in December of 2022 for PC, PS5, Xbox Series X and S. While it's currently not on older consoles, there's a planned release for the PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch in March of 2023. So if you're on one of the older consoles, please don't feel like you're left out, the game's coming. In Midnight Suns, players take control of the Hunter, the resurrected child and killer of Lilith. Yes, Lilith, the mother of demons, which even if you ignore the fact that you've killed her once before, makes for one heck of a complicated family relationship and probably some pretty awkward holiday gatherings. The Hunter is a fully customizable character with unique powers, alignment, and looks. He's joined by a wide range of supporting characters from other Marvel properties such as the Avengers, the Xmen, the Runaways, and of course the namesake Midnight Suns. He's primarily opposed by Hydra and the forces of Lilith. There are a few vampires thrown in with the Deadpool DLC though. The main game is broken up between combat missions and downtime activities, with combat missions focusing on positioning, strategic card play, and use of your environment. As you use a chosen combination of 3 heroes, you'll be defeating your enemies while achieving a variety of other objectives, such as capturing hostages. There are downtime activities, like I said, and they're pretty varied, and they're used to add additional meta progression to your characters, with some focused on personal stories and building relationships by hanging out, shall we say, with the other characters, others related to puzzles and mysteries surrounding your home base, and of course, base building and decorating. At the time of this review, I've played Midnight Suns for around 40 hours on PC. I've unlocked the majority of the characters, and I've ran through the new Deadpool characters DLC. That being said, this game is so very large, and 40 hours is not enough to roll the credits, for me at least, and there is plenty more to do. What's good about Midnight Suns? The combat. It is excellent, and each character feels pretty unique in their individual mechanics, how they can be set up to synergize into a larger team. I was worried that in a superhero game, the card-based combat would really take away from the fantasy of being a superhero in a tense and fast-paced battle, but that was never the case for me. Sure, they stand around a little awkwardly as you plan your turn, but once you trigger the animations, the sound effects, and the voice acting, everything really comes together in a satisfying and impactful way. Ghost Rider hops up on his car, the Hell Ride, and sets a large swath of the battlefield on fire, mowing enemies down along the way. Captain America just sends people flying with a few swings of his shield, and Iron Man rains down missiles like he was made of money, though I suppose he practically is. All in all, it left me feeling so very satisfied every time I would hear an enemy's KO. That being said, the combat isn't all show. Each hero has a deck of cards that control their attacks and behavior in combat, and while they're small, there's a lot of strategy in how they work, or how they mesh with the other heroes you bring. Some cards generate heroism, allowing you to unleash special and devastating attacks, either from a damage or an effect perspective. And once you're actually on the battlefield, you have to take your environment and your enemy location into account as well, versus just what attacks you're going to be performing. You get a limited amount of moves that aren't controlled by an attack, and a lot of your success or failures will be tied to how well you've positioned yourself and your enemies. Group everyone up and unleash devastating melee attacks, or line your enemies up and then hit them with Captain Marvel's photon beam, or get them close to a generator or source of fuel to avoid playing cards, and then blow it up. Honestly, you can use a lot of what you find laying around to win the fight. Even the angle you approach your enemies can be relevant, as you can knock them into each other or elements of the environment as well for control and greater levels of damage. Now, the story, the dialogue, and the voice acting here are also exceptional. I never really thought about Firaxis when it comes to a deep and compelling story game, or a company that explored emotional backstories. And while there is a ton of silly or awkward moments, the meat of the story here is very satisfying and often emotionally resonant. The cast of voice actors include a lot of talent as well, Matthew Mercer likely being the most recognizable to the largest audience here, especially who play tabletop or other role-playing games. Lines are crisp, they're delivered with feeling that lends gravity and emotion to what is already a fairly solid set of core writing. I also really enjoyed the puzzles and the mysteries surrounding the Abbey. They can largely be done at your own pace, and exploring always feels rewarding with several collectible sets and mysteries to find. For example, you can find wicker dolls made by the hunter as he was growing up, and reunite the family he created on the tombstone of his father. You can reveal and solve the mysteries of the Standing Stones, uncover the history of a coven, and the Salem witch trials. Additional collectibles such as tarot cards themed around other Marvel superheroes, paintings, reagents you can use in combat, and magical chests hidden all around really do encourage you to spend just a little more time outside your base. But some areas are locked behind story and mystery progression that keep you from unintentionally bogging yourself down too much trying to solve things day one. As far as the good goes, customization is going to be the last thing that I touch on here. Everything in the game is customizable, almost to an overwhelming extent. You can customize your attacks, your room, the facilities in the Abbey, and each hero's clothing both in and outside of missions, as well as their bathing suits for when they go out by the pool. You can even take photos or collect comics and place them in the frames scattered about the Abbey. This is going to be minor for most players, but if you ever end up spending hundreds of hours on a game, it's the little details, like the characters changing clothing every day, that can really push it over the edge and make it feel real, engaging, and alive. So I think we've said enough good about Marvel's Midnight Suns. What is bad about Marvel's Midnight Suns? For me right now, the thing that stands out the most are the graphical issues, and we're going to go ahead and get those out of the way. I've experienced so many odd graphical bugs during my time with Midnight Suns so far. I'm going to be putting a few of those up in the background now to show you what I'm talking about. I would be petting Charlie, only to have her turn into rainbow pixels, or have odd black lines appear into thin air as shadows came to life while I roamed around the Abbey at night. Unlike many of my friends, I didn't really experience any lag or stuttering, but it did often pull me out of my immersion. Once it even placed the characters in their bathing suits as they walked out for a mission. You have this big dramatic walk, yet everyone is in bathing shorts. No armor, no costumes, no nothing. Odd, but it is what it is. Firaxis is aware of this issue, so I hope it will improve pretty quickly, but for now it's something we just have to live with and wait to see what the fix will be or how long it will take to implement. I do believe that if you play on a console, these issues are less prevalent, but I haven't tried the game outside of PC at this time. Tone's another thing we should discuss. Marvel characters are often silly, snarky, or cocky, and that comes across pretty well in Midnight Suns, but there are times where it seems to go a little too far or to be placed in the wrong environment or place at the wrong time. For me, this was something that I only noted infrequently, but I know some players even struggled with the downtime activities. They felt they were fun, but they thought it was inappropriate to be hanging out by the pool, while other serious matters occurred into the world. Personally, I honestly justified it to myself that regardless of what's going on here, there will be inevitable downtime or periods where you just have to wait for information, and why shouldn't a hero enjoy themselves in those moments? After all, you can't just stress 24/7. Sometimes there really is just nothing you can do. So let's go ahead and move on to our channel's focus. How does Midnight Suns treat your time? Overall, the game is very long, and for most players, that will be nothing but a positive. But for some of us busy gamers, it will feel like there's an element of grind to preparing your heroes for higher difficulty levels, or story missions, as you're going to need to be acquiring additional cards and the resources to upgrade those cards in order to progress. I never personally felt this was extreme, and these side missions, they didn't move the story along, but they were always still fun and engaging for me. Eventually they get a little bit repetitive, but it shouldn't be minimized that after 40 hours of the game, I don't even have all of the characters unlocked. I've only increased a few difficulties, and I have a lot of game to go. Let's move on to the final scores. Overall, I gave this game a 9.5. This game is phenomenal, and for me, I cannot see a situation in which this game doesn't contend for me as my game of the year, even with the graphical issues. It feels like a game that I've never really seen before. It has deep tactics, an excellent IP, and a story and setting that blend everything together perfectly. Especially being a Firaxis game that you know will get some long-term support and growth in the form of additional content, this is one I can really see myself playing for a long time to come. For the Ephemeral Efficiency score, I'm going to go ahead and give it a 7 here. It's a long game, and it does get a lot of the harder content behind some level of grind. It makes that grind more entertaining than most, but it still exists. So we're going to drop the efficiency score just a bit because you are going to need to invest a good amount of time to get the most out of this game. All right, that is my review of Marvel's Midnight Suns. If you enjoyed this content and you stuck around for the entire video, thank you very much. I really appreciate the support. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback for me, please leave them below. I really appreciate it. Have a great time gaming.